Coaching youth sports is one of my passions. I know why I do it. I love sports and I want to spend time with my children. But some people get into it for the wrong reason. They do it to get close to your children. Tonight, 2 cases of young female athletes victimized by their adult male coaches. We'll talk about the trust between male coach and female athlete and what we as parents need to be aware of. Plus this.
I, as a mom, I know in my gut there's a feeling as a parent, you know certain things about your child, you can feel that connection.
Was Casey connecting with her only child, Kaylee, when she partied it up in Florida clubs days after the little girl vanished? It's pictures Casey's attorneys didn't want a jury to see, but in a stunning move, the judge rules the partying, the phantom nanny, even Casey's beautiful life tattoo, it's all coming out at trial.
I was like, what is this? I was like, so I ran in the house, I showed my mama.
A young boy receives a pornographic picture on his cell phone. Even more shocking, when he texted the man back, told him he was only 9 years old, the guy texted him again. Tonight, an outraged family demands answers.
Controversy, opinion, point of view. This is Prime News.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Welcome to Prime News. Young female athletes and adult male coaches. You know, it's a relationship that requires a lot of trust between the athlete, her coach, and her parents. Tonight, we have 2 cases where that trust has been broken. First, in Miami, a mother devastated after her daughter's gym teacher accused of having sex with the 13-year-old on campus.
You think that you could trust like a coach. I would never, ever trust no coach anymore.
The school district issued this statement. The employee was immediately reassigned after the incident. He is not working with students while an investigation is underway. All required notifications were made. Meanwhile, in New York, an adult male track coach gets jail time for sending inappropriate texts to a female student athlete who was just 16 at the time.
They were continual, and the amount of the phone calls and texts were so numerous that that is out of the norm, considering what the stated relationship at a coach to a victim.
You know, these are extreme cases, but it makes you wonder, you know, where is that line and what are the signs that there could be trouble in that sensitive relationship between male coaches and their young female athletes? Joining me tonight, Sunny Hostin, legal contributor for In Session on True TV. She's actually prosecuted cases like this before. Sports radio host Jeff Wolverton. He also coaches youth basketball and baseball right here in Georgia. And clinical psychologist Sheela Raja. Thank you all for joining us. And I've coached both my daughter and my sons. And I know my approach as a coach was a little bit different. I think I was a little more conscious of, you know, hugging a player after a good play. You know, and that whole relationship, just to me, the dynamic seemed a little different, and it was something that I actually thought about while coaching my daughter versus coaching my son. And obviously, there's you know, things you don't do to either, but to me, there was a heightened sensitivity. And I'm wondering, Jeff, you as a coach, is that something that you think about? You know, the relationship, the appearance of what's happening, just to make sure all the players are at ease, and the players' parents are at ease, and there can be this trust.
Absolutely. That's first and foremost what I'd be thinking about. You know, I've been coaching baseball and basketball for 10 years now, and I've had many opportunities to coach at the high school level on the girls at a high school level. But even now myself, as a 37-year-old guy who's married, has a family, when I was single, I was like, I wouldn't even put myself in that position just because there's so much gray area there, and so many things can be construed as inappropriate. I never wanted to put myself in that position, want to put anyone else in that position at that time. And I do think there is absolutely a definite, am I doing something right? Am I putting my arm around? If I'm consoling someone at the time, you would always be thinking about it. It would always be in the back of my mind if I was dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old girls all the time.
Sunny Hostin, and you see, Jeff's one of those coaches like me who's thinking about it. Then there's the other coaches, like in these 2 stories, the ones who are looking for those opportunities to isolate the girl, to be able to spend time with the girl. And I think we as parents, we have to really know what's going on. And I think first we've got to know who that coach is and get to know them and get to understand who they are before we can just sort of, you know, drop our daughters off at practice.
There's no question about it. As a parent, you do have to get to know the coaches. But I think also there are certain signs, Vinnie, that you can look for, because I have prosecuted these cases, coaches having sex with their students. And what I have heard over and over and over again from the parents, from the victims, is sort of this escalation of activity. So if you start seeing your daughter being pretty moody, texting a lot with a coach, calls a lot with the coach, spending an inordinate amount of time with the coach, then that's something that you really need to look into further.
Yeah, and here's the balance, though, Sonny, because sometimes if it's a high-profile coach, a coach who has gotten great results, and everyone wants, oh, my child to be coached by this coach, you're saying, oh, he's paying special attention to my daughter because she's such a talented athlete, because he can really help her. And that's the balance, I think, and that's the problem parents sometimes have in figuring out where that line is. Sheela, you know, the psychology of this is difficult as a parent, but is there a way to communicate with our child to make sure that we are in the mix and we understand where that relationship is and making sure no lines are being crossed here?
We have to communicate with our children. I think you're exactly right, because we have to have those hard conversations. Your body belongs to you. If anybody is making you feel uncomfortable, talk to me, come to me, I'll believe you, I'll listen to you. That's tough to do, but predators count on two things, and that's shame and secrecy, and we can't give it to them.
Take a listen to this mom again from Miami, and our hearts go out to her, and I'm not blaming her for anything, but this is after the fact, after her daughter's already been a victim. And here she's talking about wanting to be able to protect her daughter more. And really, that's where I want to keep our focus tonight on, you know, what are the signs, where are the lines, what can we do? Take a listen.
I wish I could protect them more. I trusted them. And I feel lost. I feel sorry for my baby. And I don't want that this happen to other kids.
Crystal's in Iowa tonight. Crystal, your thoughts about male coaches, young female athletes?
Is there any kind of background checks done on the coaches? And I also feel like if there's going to be a male coach, there needs to be at least a female assistant coach.
That's a great point, Crystal. Thanks so much for the call. And especially, Jeff, as the children get older, as the girls get older, you know, you're talking middle school, high school, there's locker rooms, they've got to be put on a bus, away games, home games, practice after school where the parents are nowhere to be seen.
Absolutely. You got situations where a coach is taking 6, 7 kids in the van with them, and they're driving to a place to play, and they're talking about girls stuff at 17 years old. And a coach is in there, they're listening to this, and then all of a sudden they get brought into a conversation that they don't want any part of, but they're getting pulled into it. They may offer some advice. You know, little Susie goes back to the dinner table on the weekend and says, well, Coach so-and-so told me this would be a good idea in this situation, and now we got real problems because now
it's an absolute mess.
Yeah, an innocent comment maybe taken completely out of context, and you don't know what the situation is. I just think, again, it brings in a lot of gray area. And as far as the background checks go, absolutely.
Absolutely, on the background checks, and I would expect the schools do those. Crystal, I think, had the greatest idea, though. If the head coach is a man, get an assistant coach in there who's a woman who can keep an eye on everything. Jeff, Sheela, Sonny,
but
great,
I have to say, I think there's a lot of men that know the boundaries. I think there are a lot of older men that know how to handle themselves.
The majority of the coaches do. But unfortunately, we get these stories and we hear these lives, and we don't want one child to ever have to go through this.
Right.
Thanks so much, Sheila.
Absolutely.
All right.